Hello and welcome to this edition of Midday Mentors. I'm Richard Pharro, the CEO of APMG International, and today I'm delighted to be speaking to Richard Weber, who is one of the UK's best known trainers and coaches in the area of best practice. It's a long time since we've spoken, Richard, so would you like to tell everybody sort of what your interests are and what you're doing at the moment?
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you very much for inviting me to join Midday Mentors today. My background is in IT, and for around about 20 years now, I have worked both as a trainer and consultant, offering services to various organisations, both public and private sector, to help enable improvements in service management and also project management. I've been very busy of late, particularly in helping organisations with various improvements to agile ways of working. So it's been good fun.
Excellent. Interesting you mention agile, because I think agile and lean have been interesting business trends lately. And they seem to be across the whole piece, whether it's in IT, whether it's in project, whether it's in change management, what have you. And clearly one of the products that we're going to talk about, FitSM, is a lightweight approach to service management. So do you think this lean and agile way of working, concepts, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, do you think that's here to stay? Do you think it is new? And how do you think FitSM fits into that?
Okay, that's a really great question. I think to pick on one of your points, is it here to stay? Definitely. I think what's also interesting about agile, people often use the term agile, but it doesn't necessarily refer to anything specific. There are a wide range of different agile techniques, behaviors and methods. Some you might have heard of course, include Scrum and Kanban, and of course the very good Agile PM, project management methodology. All of these are agile ways of working. And the way I see it, Richard, is that agile is a scale. Some techniques I would consider to be extremely agile. Others use only some aspects of it. FitSM for me fits somewhere on that scale. And when you look at it, one of the most powerful parts of FitSM for me is that for each of its process areas, it defines minimum requirements. And that's incredibly powerful as a tool to help organizations adopt service management standards like FitSM, because it gives you the starting block. And so in that respect, it's very similar to Lean Startup and its minimal viable product. Mm-hmm. I think also when you look at FitSM, it talks obviously quite extensively about continual improvement and driving an iterative and incremental approach to improvement in organizations. So yeah, absolutely, FitSM could fit very happily in an agile environment, be it DevOps or using Scrum.
Richard, the way you talk about it, is it something that sits in the IT team? If organizations still have IT teams, does it still fit in that box? Or do you think its techniques and its approach is business wide? So when you're training and when you're sort of consulting with organizations,
sure,
are you with the IT guys or are you with people from across the business when you're talking about FitSM, when you're talking about the concepts of service management?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I would say about 70% of the time I work with IT departments. But what I'm seeing is an increasing trend for wider adoption of service management processes and practices. And that's because a lot of the concepts that we talk about in service management are applicable to a wider audience. And in fact, I can give you an example. A few years ago, I gave a board level presentation to a food manufacturing company. And this was actually on the request of the IT director, who wanted to invest in service management improvement, and that was a combination of training and some assistance to help them get going. And the board were quite skeptical. They thought that service management was just a software solution that the IT director wanted to spend lots of money on. and they couldn't see the value. And so I was asked to talk to the board about service management, and they very quickly changed their minds when they realized that service management is about gearing service departments to the business, using words like value, and describing the difference between an incident and a problem. They thought it was wonderful, and actually the outcome of that, Richard, was that we implemented service management across their manufacturing department, their estates and facilities department, their HR and their finance department. And so really service management can be taken across the enterprise.
But it's interesting, you used a very interesting phrase there. We implemented service management across many departments. Now, there's a very well-known service management methodology that has, I don't know, upwards of 20 processes.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say you never implement a methodology. You take parts of it and you implement those parts. So, you know, I think some of the skeptics, some of the wags will say, you know, you probably don't implement more than about 2 or 3 processes. So when you talk about implementation of service management, is it the philosophy? Is it the mindset? Is it the structure? You know, what do you mean by implement service management across, to use your example of that food manufacturer, that food processor?
It certainly isn't a one-off implementation. This is a roadmap, a path, a step of maturity over time. So irrespective of the methodology or standards you choose to use within service management, you don't do this on day one. This will take time. But what I find, even in organizations that have been using service management frameworks for several years, their issues still tend to focus on the core aspects that we typically regard in service management of incident, problem, change, configuration, asset management, service desk, and for the more adventurous capacity management, availability and continuity and areas such as that. And the beauty for me, FitSM, and people do regard it as a lightweight approach. I think you have to be a bit careful when you say lightweight. I actually see it as a very complete approach, but for the core aspects that most organizations will get the most value from. Of course, over time, as they progress through their maturity steps, they may find that they need something or aspects that are in addition to what you will find in FitSM. But the beauty of it, Richard, is that as a standard, it is very aligned to ITIL, to ISO 20000, to Microsoft Operations Framework. There is no harm in a multifaceted approach in using several of these tools, but FitSM would give you the core.
Do you think that's going to be a growing trend? You know, I mean, I can't not read about business transformation becoming more digital. All organizations have got to have digital offerings. They're going to transform the organization. You know, we're in the period at the moment where people are working from home that you would never have dreamt a year ago those people would be working from home. The level of technology that we're using. So do you see a future of people taking, say, something like FitSM as a core and then bolting other things to it, so it really is fit for purpose for their organization and exactly what they need?
I think you've really answered your question there. I agree. Yes, I think people struggle with some other frameworks that exist for service management in where to start, and they don't come with guidance that tells you which are the important and key aspects. So yes, I think FitSM is an incredibly powerful tool in helping organizations get the quick wins, get improvements in service management happening very quickly, and moving themselves forward in that space. If later on they need something in addition to FitSM, then sure, there's nothing stopping you from doing that at all.
So do you, when you go in to do one of these engagements, whether it is training or better still, an implementation engagement, my understanding is the FitSM training course is about 1 day, maybe 2 days. Mm-hmm. So within that, you can clearly get across the basic concepts of people. But, how long does it take for somebody to become relatively fluent and capable of understanding those processes and starting to apply them to their organization? Because I'm sure I don't come away from a one-day training course and then I can go and do it. So, what are your views on this difference between imparting a little bit of knowledge and then being able to use the knowledge, and then being able to use the knowledge in unusual ways, in new situations?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, this will vary person to person, and everyone will have a different set of skills behind them that will affect, of course, their own capability to be effective at any service management improvement. I think with FitSM, one of the big benefits is, as you say, the resources and materials are freely available. You don't need to undertake training. You can self-study this. The tools are very powerful. It comes with a maturity assessment, so you can assess your organization right now and work out what you need to do. So it helps with that roadmap, and it helps you with the guidance around implementation. Of course, people like me are also here to help out, and one of the benefits of more formal training is, of course, we can impart our knowledge and our experiences of actually doing this in industry and for other organizations. So I think it's very difficult to say there's a one fit all solution for everybody, Richard.
Do you think it's going to, though, become something that going to be like a generalist toolkit? My background is in project management, managing large construction projects, but now everybody does a project. Most things an organization does. Wealth is created through projects.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to know a little bit about project management in order to do their normal job. Do you think it's likely to be the same with service management over the next few years?
I think my answer to this one is that FitSM would fit into both more a generalist and a specialist skill set. I think if I put my agile hat on for one moment, what we're increasingly looking to try and achieve is what I might describe as T-shaped people.
Richard, I think I know what a T-shaped person is. This is someone that has, depending on their seniority, general management experience across the top and a depth of technical knowledge. Is that a reasonable understanding, or is there a better definition?
That's reasonable understanding, Richard. I wouldn't necessarily think about the seniority of the person. Rather, a T-shaped person is somebody who we would regard as having broad generalist skills. So they have a shallow understanding of a number of different aspects of their role and perhaps colleagues' roles, so that they can help out in difficult times. But they have then a specialism in one particular area that is probably the core of their work. And so what we're looking to try and achieve are individuals with broad understanding and skills that cover a wide area, so that they can react to ongoing situations and help us move forward. But equally, environments and IT in particular are very complicated, so people also need to have one or more specialisms in their area. So in the context of FitSM and service management, what that for me means is that people really ought to have a generalist understanding of all aspects, but they might focus on their area. So for somebody working in the service desk, for example, their skills would be around incident management, perhaps some aspects of asset management and request fulfillment.
So what's your prediction for the future? Do you think there's going to be more simple but powerful approaches like FitSM, and we're going to find a way to simplify down to the core of what we need so we can all become more effective for that? Or do you still see a world where people are going to add more and more complexity to things because it enables them to show a breadth of understanding and knowledge that maybe they think other people would want? So if we were having this conversation in 5 years' time and you were looking back, do you think you would have seen a growth of the complexity, or do you think you would have seen more green shoots of simplicity in this area of service management?
Okay, I always love the crystal ball questions, Richard. So thank you. Thank you
I like answering. I like asking them. Answering them is rather more difficult. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I think the future of ITSM, IT service management, is very exciting. And actually, the first thing I would say is that what we will increasingly see is people taking the IT letters away. So we'll increasingly talk about service management and its applicability to the wider organization. And if you think of the growing trend right now around digital transformation, that is across the piece, across the enterprise. This is not just an IT siloed initiative. It affects everything that we do, be it at home in terms of all of the equipment and technology in the home, but in the workplace, across all of the service departments and all of the delivery departments of a business. So I think service management needs to be at the heart of that, because IT is the enabler. And to come back to your question around simplicity, it will only be embraced if we can do this in a simple but effective way. So I think FitSM is very well positioned to enable that change.
So with this change and this automation, does this mean I'm going to have more of those calls where it says your call is very important to us, but you are in a queue, we will get to you in 38 minutes? Or do you think it's going to find a solution to that problem for businesses?
Well, I hope not, because I feel those frustrations too. My passion really with service management is thinking about everything from the customer perspective, and technology and the digital transformation really should keep the customer at the heart of that change. So we're just seeing the advent of AI technologies that augment the previously human delivered process areas. And so if we can sensibly and effectively automate using artificial intelligence to eradicate and remove those queues and wait times that we previously saw, then the wonderful aspect of that is that it frees up people time to do the things that computers can't do. So that's where I see things going, and I've seen one or two quite interesting examples already.
So do you, just to pick up on that, do you think this whole user experience is going to become more and more important? It's been overlooked a little bit in the past, where we've been sort of driving things towards efficiency. Some people might say cost saving, but there is going to be a swing towards, you know, putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer. What do they really experience, and getting that right?
Yeah, I don't see this as a cost-saving measure. What I generally see in organisations is we can do more with the same. So through efficiency, we can deliver improvements in the service that we offer to our customers. We don't necessarily see a cost saving in achieving that. So what was the second part of your query there, Richard?
Well, the thing is about, with this efficiency, sometimes I feel as the customer, no one's really thought about me. As I say, my call is important, but I still wait 38 minutes, and then the person I talk to, or the machine I talk to, asks for the same information I've already given. So if this service approach, if the service improvements are going to work, who is really thinking about the customer? And do you think that's going to be a key focus over the coming years? The whole customer experience. I don't like the phrase, the customer journey.
Yeah, but it is. It's about the customer experience. You've got to address service management aspects from the customer's perception of the service, and of course that's a big part of the value measurement, understanding how customers and users of a service, and I take that outside of the IT department. It could involve any aspect of a service that a business is offering. You've got to look at how that customer perceives the service that you are delivering, and actually what we see is that the customer expectation is continually increasing. Customers are demanding more, and business have to react to that. The only way that they can react to that is if they can have mechanisms in place to help them deliver effective processes and practices across their service departments, and we need a way to measure that success.
Richard, it sounds like you're going to have a very interesting few years helping organizations come to grips with this, understanding the customer, improving the efficiency of their services. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us, and thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. Cheers.